Baron 1898, or Baron as many fans call the B&M dive coaster at the Efteling, is a one-of-a-kind coaster you can't find anywhere else in the world. Hi, my name is Koen from Dutch Theme Park Network. What is so special about Baron and why was it made this way? Let's dive in. Let's start with the history of this iconic roller coaster. The initial plans for a dive coaster at the Efteling date back to the 50th anniversary year of 2002. At that time, Efteling designer Michel den Dulk, who is now an Imagineer at the Efteling, created concept drawings for a dive coaster themed around a derelict power plant in the lead-up to the anniversary of the park. During the development of the Vliegende Hollander, the Flying Dutchman, the dive coaster designed by den Dulk was an alternative proposal, but the plan never came to fruition. The park decided to build their famous water coaster, which opened in 2007. In 2012, research showed that the park was in need of an attraction aimed at teenagers. Additionally, the dive coaster was still a relatively unique type of attraction that had been very successful in other parks, such as Oblivion in England's Alton Towers and Busch Gardens Shakra in the USA. A visit by the management to Krake at Germany's Heide Park in early 2014 ultimately convinced the Efteling to proceed. It was decided that the attraction, due to the short length of the roller coaster, needed to be more than just a roller coaster. During the presentation of the current CEO, Fons Jurgens, he announced that this new thrilling roller coaster was coming to the park. Efteling chose the renowned roller coaster manufacturer Bolliger and Mabillard, or B&M, who handled the track design. The creative team was inspired by these initial designs. The team, led by Olaf Vugts, included Sander de Bruin as designer, Jaap den Bleeker as design coordinator, and Ronald Donkers as structural designer. As it was clear that the steel had to be embraced as part of the design, otherwise a lot of steel would have to be concealed using thematic elements, the idea of a forge was proposed. As plans became more concrete and the scale of the dive coaster became apparent, the forge theme seemed too limiting to realistically handle such capacity, and a definitive theme that could better accommodate this aspect emerged: a mining theme with passenger transport. After several weeks of research, initial designs and visits to mining complexes in the Netherlands, Belgium and Germany, this theme was definitively chosen. Sander de Bruin, who had previously designed Ravelijn, was responsible for the design. He drew inspiration from 19th century coal mining in the Limburg mining region and across the border in Germany. As the final designs were made, the story about the Baron and the Wailing Women also took shape. An unusual choice was made for the colour of the track: Peak Blue, a blue-green colour often used by the first designer of the park, Anton Pieck, and a colour never before used for a B&M roller coaster. The attraction is richly themed in the style of Dutch mining in the late 19th century. A lot of attributes are actually used in mines or are replicated based on items sent in by people in the Netherlands. The backstory. The name Baron 1898 refers to the background story of the legend of the Wailing Women, in which a greedy mining baron, Gustav Hoogmoed, finds a gold vein and wants to extract as much gold as possible from the ground. However, the fertile ground is protected by the Wailing Women. Gustav calls on his miners to help him and promises them mountains of gold. During the ride, it becomes clear that the Wailing Women are trying their best to sabotage the gold mining. The construction. The attraction consists of a complex of 8 buildings and a piece of roller coaster track. The walls are built with red bricks featuring distinctive horizontal patterns. Here and there, references to gold can be found, including golden accents and shapes in the windows. The first building is the entrance to the attraction, and they're most richly decorated, with a porch and a large overhanging roof with wooden ornaments in chalet style. The name Rijksmijnbaron 1898, in English State Mine Baron 1898, is placed above the door, flanked by images of miners with pickaxes and diamonds, and decorative flowers, shovels, and miners' lamps. Inside are the entrance portal and the changing room. Behind this building lies a taller building reminiscent of a warehouse, with a visible steel structure on the facade and a characteristic wooden ventilation facility on top. In this building, which is connected to the previous one by a low building section, one can find the pay office with the technical rooms for show control below. The third building is by far the largest and is recognizable by its round roof and the roller coaster track running through it. This is the hoist building or station. The track passes through here to the adjacent engine room, which has a sawtooth roof. Next to the engine room, there is a large wooden structure atop the inaccessible boiler house, from which the ascending track section leaves the building towards the shaft tower. Against the rear of the hoist building, engine room and boiler house, the lower carriage house is built. Between the station and the entrance, the seventh building is located, not to be missed because it has a 20-meter high brick chimney from which smoke regularly rises. The on-ride photo is located here. Finally, there is a tall steel structure, the shaft tower, over which the track runs, and where a catering point and lockers can be found at the bottom. Baron has standard B&M seats that are not accessible for everybody. Therefore, there is a cabin with a test seat for those who want to try if they fit. The cabin is themed as a broken elevator that, according to the story, first descended into the mines. The cabin also provides shelter for employees, some privacy, and it contains a child measuring facility. Walkthrough. Your journey starts at a gate, consisting of 2 lampposts connected by a bar where the waiting time can be read, which marks the beginning of the meandering. You can choose a regular queue via the left side and a single rider's queue via the right. This line goes straight on for a few meters, then turns right and goes back to the attraction entrance. The regular queue splits in 2 before you enter the entrance building. Here one must choose whether they want to sit in the front or the second or third row of the train. The waiting time for the second and third row is usually shorter. At the end of the meandering, an employee distributes tickets, which state in which row of the mine train you may later sit. These are of the classic ticket roll size, including perforation. Special tickets are also available for kompels bovengronds, visitors who want to enjoy the pre-shows but skip the ride itself. In the entrance hall, visitors, miners, gather, waiting for the doors to the first pre-show to open. In this area, there are various sights to see that relate to the building and the mining activities that take place there, including a first stone embedded in the wall, a bust of Gustav Hoogmoed, a punch clock, a board with tokens, a mine telephone, and a small control panel. There are also signs indicating no smoking, and the familiar sign advising to be punctual is displayed. When the doors swing open, visitors can proceed to the dressing room. The left and right sides of the room are still divided for Shift A and Shift B. This octagonal room has a tiled floor and a hanging system for the mining clothes. The clothing can be seen on the ceiling. In the middle of the room there is a scene behind fences where an old gramophone player plays the theme of the attraction. There is a bench with clothing hooks, with clothes and helmets, empty milk bottles, a lunchbox with sandwiches, and an apple. On the bench, the morning paper De Morgenstond can be found, which contains references to Baron 1898 and other Efteling attractions. For example, there is an ad for an oldtimer similar to the ones you can find at the Oude Tuffers. On the wall above the entrance door, there are 2 screens, and above the doors to the next room, projectors are housed in large cabinets. A slideshow is presented here, and we hear Gustav Hoogmoed with the voice of Paul van Gogh, explaining that we have been hired as miners. A fun fact to know here is that Paul van Gogh used to play an evil baron in a children's TV show on a Dutch television, which makes the casting of him voicing this baron perfect.
Zijn we klein? Waar zijn die Bassie en Adriaan? Oh, de rommels, en nog eens de rommels.
The right screen shows the Baron and the mine in old photos. Efteling legend Henk Schellekens, who built the attraction and many other attractions, appears as a miner. The left screen is a translation into English, and here and there the Baron himself translates parts of this speech into English. The wailing women appear and sabotage the equipment. They warn us not to proceed further. The voices of all the wailing women are performed by Anneke van Giersbergen. She sang the text several times in slightly different voices.
U zijt gewaarschuwd.
Wailing women are supernatural beings in the Dutch and Germanic culture. It is a name for female figures that appear in legends and are sometimes benevolent, sometimes malevolent. Mist patches or fog banks in northern and eastern Netherlands are also called white women. This first pre-show lasts about 2 minutes. When the doors open, there is a small administrative office behind glass on the right. In front of us is a staircase, which brings us to the pay room, where Gustav Hoogmoed addresses us from a balcony and points out to form lines of 3 in front of the door with our number. There are 3 closed counters here, where the sounds of typewriters can be heard. An attendant collects the tickets and directs us to the door we need to stand in front of. The numbers are marked on the floor. When the light next to the door lights up, the doors open and we can immediately take our seats in the train. In a train with a maximum capacity of 18 people, 3 rows of 6 people side by side, the miners move a few meters forward after a smoke screen is sprayed in front of the train. We enter the engine room where the machines and ovens are located. The wailing women reappear. Because we did not heed the warning, they sabotage our descent. They crawl into the ovens and break the machines. The train suddenly accelerates and shoots up the lift, heading towards the top of a 30-meter high headframe. At the top of the headframe there is an impressive predominantly Jugendstil relief. Centrally, on an oval shield in gold, we see the symbol unique to the attraction, the crossed pickaxe and shovel above a diamond. Below the shield there is a dramatic head, reminiscent of Gustav Hoogmoed, wearing a crown or helmet. The rest of the relief is symmetrical. On either side we see one of the wailing women with wild flowing hair and a mythical winged lion. The woman presents a cornucopia with a twisted face to the greedy beast, which holds 3 grain stalks, both symbols of prosperity and abundance. Below these figures there is a large flower. The lift hill has an angle of 45 degrees. At the top we find a giant wheel that turns like it is pulling the train up. When we reach the top, we hang still for 3 seconds with a stunning view over the Piranha and the rest of the park. The front row then tilts so far forward that the view is directed downwards, where a gaping hole filled with mist is visible. Then the cable snaps and the big wheel starts turning in the other directions. The train drops 37.5 meters down with a steep angle of 87 degrees and a speed of almost 90 kilometers per hour or 56 miles per hour. During the fall, the first action photo is taken. The train shoots through the tunnel, the gold mine. The inside is also themed as a gold mine, but due to all the mist, the wailing women, the low light inside and the speed, it is not visible from the train. Occasionally, the singing of the wailing women can also be heard from the tunnel. The train shoots out the other side, makes a sharp turn, and goes upside down in an Immelmann. The track then goes down to ground level, where a second action photo is taken, and then goes through a 0G roll, an inside-out corkscrew with a moment of weightlessness, followed by a sharp upward spiral. There is a small camelback and a turn, where the train enters the brake section, where it is slowly braked and rides back into the retrieval building. You then exit on the left side, go up a staircase, and walk along the platform towards the exit. However, walking straight through would be a shame, as there is a lot to see here. The retrieval building is the most richly themed station in the Efteling. On the walls, many attributes from mining and references to the story behind Baron 1898 and the Efteling can be seen. At the exit, we enter the building of the action photos, which is located under the chimney. On the walls, picture frames can be seen with old photos of the miners in the state mine. In the back wall, 2 boilers are visible. They are the ends of a boiler that was found in the ground during the construction of the attraction and presumably belonged to the swimming pool. Since August 2023, Baron 1898 has also been the only Efteling attraction to have action videos. Inspired by Disney, action videos of yourself are combined with stock footage showing your ride in Baron. You get this video when you purchase the photo pass. Next to the attraction, there is a small food outlet at Melkhuisje, which sells churros and milkshakes. Opposite is the drink stall De Verkleumde Kompel. Around the corner from this is the Kompels Lockers Depot, a wall with luggage lockers where visitors can safely store surplus items so they don't have to take them on the attraction. The attraction also has a separate entrance for disabled people, as the pre-shows contain several stairs. From the forecourt, a sign leads the disabled around the back of the building, where a bell and a lift are located. Once the bell is rung, a staff member comes down with the lift to pick up the disabled person and bring them into the retrieval building. A maximum of 1 disabled visitor can join per ride, and they must always have at least 1 and no more than 3 companions. The attraction was built at an unprecedented speed for the Efteling. On April the 18th, 2014, construction started, and on May the 8th, 2015, a little over a year later, the ride was first tested. The B&M coaster is one of a kind, not only because of its colour, but also because of the ride layout. Other B&M dive coasters make a right or left turn at the end of the lift hill. Only at the Efteling, the drop is right after the lift hill because this better fitted the theme of the ride. Because Baron was built within the park boundaries, the progress could be easily followed. The construction activities were closely monitored by the media and fan sites, but for the first time, the Efteling itself also provided updates on the developments during the construction process. Unique photos were occasionally posted on social media, and a monthly 10-minute video was added to YouTube titled The Making of Baron 1898. Music and sound effects were made by in-house composer René Merkelbach, and they can be heard in and around the attraction. He was inspired by harmony music that was popular in the mining era. It was recorded by the Brussels Philharmonic at the Galaxy Studios in Mol. There are also sound effects in the ride, like squeaking brakes and the bell at the top of the lift hill. The world-famous DJ Hardwell, Robert van der Korpert from Breda, made a remix of the music at the Efteling's request, which you can still stream today. Staff members and builders were able to take a ride on June the 25th. A fun story here is that the son of builder B&M rode the ride, and the squeaking sound effects at the end of the lift hill sounded so real to him, he called his father, the head of B&M, to tell him that there was something wrong with the ride. The press opening took place on June the 30th. Director Fons Jurgens gave a speech, and some scenes from the short film The Story Behind Baron 1898 were shown. The first official ride was made by DJ Hardwell and several other famous Dutch people. The entire event was broadcast live via Efteling YouTube. The next afternoon, season pass holders who had signed up in time could experience the ride. On Wednesday, July the 1st, the attraction opened to the general public. At the end of July 2017, a second food stall, the Yogurt Bar, was opened near the headframe of the square. Like Melkhuisje, this more mobile kiosk also stayed within the theme of dairy products that would be good for miners. At the Yogurt Bar, self-mixable yogurt mixes were available. In the 2018 season, this stall moved to the opposite side of the attraction entrance, and since the winter of 2019-2020, it has been called the Verkleumde Kompel. Since the opening, Baron has been one of the most well-themed roller coasters in the world, and one of the most thrilling rides at the Efteling. Although some roller coaster fans are disappointed that the ride is too short, most come out exhilarated. Have you ever ridden Baron? And if so, what do you think? Should the ride have been longer, or is it good the way it is? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like to help us along, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.